There's something written on every engine oil bottle that confuses more drivers than almost anything else in car maintenance. Those mysterious numbers like 5W30, 0W20, 10W40, or 5W40. You see them everywhere. Your owner's manual specifies one exact grade. The quick lube shop sometimes recommends something different, and half the time people stand in the auto parts store aisle completely lost, wondering if it actually matters or if it's all just marketing hype. Today we're breaking down engine oil viscosity grades in plain, straightforward language with real examples, so you'll never second-guess your next oil change again, and you'll understand exactly how to protect your engine for the long haul. Viscosity is basically the thickness or resistance to flow of the oil. Imagine pouring honey on a cold plate. It moves very slowly because it's highly viscous. Now pour water on the same plate. It runs everywhere because it has very low viscosity. Engine oil needs to walk that perfect tightrope. It must be thin enough when the engine is stone cold to rush through all the tiny passages and reach the bearings, camshafts, pistons, and valve train within seconds of startup. But it also has to stay thick enough once the engine reaches full operating temperature to maintain a strong, slippery protective film between all those fast-moving metal surfaces under extreme heat, pressure, and load. Get this balance wrong and you pay for it with accelerated wear, higher oil consumption, reduced fuel economy, or even serious engine damage. That's exactly why modern oils use a multi-grade system developed by the Society of Automotive Engineers, known as SAE. The label always shows two numbers separated by a W, which stands for winter. Let's take the very common 5W30 as our main example and break it down piece by piece. The first number, 5W, describes the oil's behavior in cold temperatures. The lower this number, the easier the oil flows when it's freezing outside. A 0W oil flows even better than a 5W at very low temperatures. This is critically important because studies show that up to 80% of all engine wear happens in the first 30 to 60 seconds after you start the car, before the oil has fully circulated and reached every critical part. On a cold winter morning, that thin cold flow rating can literally mean the difference between your engine getting instant protection or running with metal surfaces scraping against each other for several damaging seconds. The second number, the 30 in 5W30, tells you the oil's viscosity when the engine is fully warmed up at normal operating temperature, around 100 degrees Celsius or 212 degrees Fahrenheit. Higher numbers here mean the oil stays thicker and more protective when hot. So a 5W40 will maintain more thickness and film strength at high temperatures compared to a 5W30, which can give better protection during sustained high-speed driving, towing, or in very hot climates. However, that extra thickness also creates slightly more internal resistance or drag inside the engine, which can reduce your fuel economy by a small but measurable amount and make the engine work a tiny bit harder. Modern engines have become incredibly sophisticated, and manufacturers have been steadily moving toward lower viscosity oils for good reasons. Japanese brands like Toyota, Honda, and Nissan have embraced 0W20 and even 0W16 in many recent models.
Why?
Thinner oils when hot significantly reduce internal friction between all the moving parts. Less friction equals better fuel economy and lower emissions, which helps them meet strict government regulations. These newer engines feature incredibly tight tolerances, computer-controlled variable valve timing systems, and oil pumps that are precisely engineered to work with these lighter oils. If you ignore the manual and pour a thicker traditional 10W40 into a modern Toyota Camry or Honda Civic that calls for 0W20, you can actually create real problems. Slower oil flow during startup, increased fuel consumption, higher operating temperatures in some areas of the engine, and in worst cases it can trigger warning lights or interfere with the precise operation of variable valve timing and oil pressure control systems. European manufacturers like BMW, Mercedes-Benz, Audi, and Volkswagen often specify 5W30, 5W40, 0W30, or even 0W40 with very specific ACEA ratings. Their turbocharged engines, high-performance designs, and the kind of sustained high-speed autobahn driving common in Europe sometimes demand that extra high-temperature film strength and shear stability. Putting an oil that is too thin into a high-output BMW or Mercedes that requires a thicker grade can lead to faster bearing wear, camshaft scoring, and reduced protection when the engine is under heavy load for long periods. Let me share some practical real-world examples that many drivers can relate to. For most newer Toyota Camrys, Honda Accords, Corollas, and many Nissan models built after 2015, 0W20 is the ideal choice. It flows incredibly fast on cold starts, which is perfect whether you live in a cold climate like Canada or a hot one like Pakistan. It also reduces internal friction for noticeably better mileage. However, if your Japanese car has crossed 200,000 miles or more and you've started noticing a bit of oil consumption or blue smoke on startup, many experienced mechanics will carefully recommend moving to a slightly thicker 5W30 that still fully meets the manufacturer's performance approvals. The extra hot viscosity can help seal worn piston rings better and provide a little more cushion on bearings and other components that have developed some clearance over time. But remember, always check your owner's manual first and never make this change without confirming the oil still carries the correct API-SP or ILSAC GF6 rating. On the flip side, older engines from the 1990s and early 2000s were built with looser tolerances and were designed around thicker oils like 10W30 or even straight 10W40 in some markets. These engines relied on that extra thickness to maintain proper oil pressure and film strength. If you mistakenly use a super thin modern 0W20 in one of those older motors, the oil can slip through the bearings too easily at operating temperature, causing lower oil pressure, louder ticking noises from the valve train, and accelerated wear over the long run. The W ratings are laboratory tested at extremely low temperatures. A 0W oil must still pump and flow properly at -35 degrees Celsius, while a 10W is tested at -30 degrees Celsius. That 5-degree difference might not sound like much, but on a freezing cold morning it can be the difference between your engine getting full lubrication immediately or running dry for those critical first seconds, which adds up to major wear over the life of the vehicle. High-mileage oils deserve special mention here. They usually come in the same viscosity grades you need, but include extra seal conditioners, anti-wear additives, and detergents specifically formulated to help older engines with slightly worn seals and gaskets. Synthetic oils in general handle wide viscosity ranges much better than conventional oils because their base stocks are far more stable chemically. They resist thinning out too dramatically when hot and don't thicken excessively when cold, giving you more consistent protection across all temperature extremes and longer drain intervals. Here's a quick, practical decision guide you can use every time you change your oil. Always start with your vehicle's owner's manual. That is the absolute authority for your specific engine. If you live in a very hot climate, do a lot of towing, hauling, or aggressive driving, you might benefit from the higher end of the recommended viscosity range. In extremely cold climates, always prioritize the lowest possible W rating for the fastest cold flow. For the vast majority of daily drivers in moderate temperatures, sticking exactly to the factory recommended grade, whether it's 0W20, 5W30, or 5W40, gives you the best balance of protection, fuel economy, and long-term reliability. One more crucial point: viscosity grade is only half the story. You must also match the full performance specifications. Look for API-SP, ILSAC GF6A for most Japanese cars, or the precise ACEA ratings and manufacturer approvals such as BMW Longlif 01, Mercedes-Benz 229.51/229.52, VW 504.00/507.00 for European vehicles. Using the right viscosity with the wrong approval can still damage emission systems, clog diesel particulate filters, or cause issues with catalytic converters and timing chain tensioners. The bottom line is this: those viscosity numbers on the bottle are not marketing fluff or random figures. They are carefully engineered specifications that precisely describe how the oil will behave across real temperature ranges your engine actually experiences. Choosing the correct viscosity grade, combined with a quality full synthetic that meets all the required approvals, is one of the single most important and simplest things you can do to protect your engine, maximize fuel efficiency, reduce emissions, and help your car reach those impressive high mileage numbers we all hope for. If this clear explanation finally removed the confusion around oil viscosity grades for you, do me a big favor and hit that like button right now. Share this video with any friend, family member, or fellow car enthusiast who has ever stood confused in front of shelves of oil bottles. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications because we're dropping more practical, no-nonsense car care videos every week that actually save you money and keep your Toyota, Honda, BMW, Mercedes, or any other car running strong for hundreds of thousands of miles. Drop a comment below with your country. Tell me what car you drive, what viscosity grade your owner's manual calls for, and what oil you're currently using in it. I read every single comment and love answering your questions and hearing your experiences. See you in the next one. Keep learning, keep maintaining smart, and keep those engines happy, quiet, and reliable for many years to come. Drive safe.